In a quiet corner of a small repair shop on the city's edge, a young woman named Ella Reid holds onto a fragile hope. Though life has dealt her more than her share of hardship, her world had been turned upside down when her longtime boyfriend left her alone and pregnant, with little more than a hurried farewell and a plane ticket to somewhere far away. Yet, despite the uncertainties surrounding her, Ella's determination remains unshaken. But she could never imagine how an ordinary workday at her father's old garage would bring a stranger into her life, carrying secrets that would expose a web of betrayal and force Ella to make a choice that could change everything. Each day, Ella pours herself into her work at Dream Wheels Garage, the small auto repair shop she inherited from her father. Among the rhythmic clinking of tools and the steady hum of engines, Ella tries to drown out her fears. Her father's business had always been her sanctuary, but now it's barely making ends meet. And, with a child on the way, the weight on her shoulders has never felt heavier. Ella's heart aches with the betrayal of Liam, her partner of 3 years, who accepted a job overseas without so much as a conversation. The shock of his sudden departure has left her hollow, and in its place, a new worry has begun to grow, a life she now carries. A secret only known to her. The struggles of keeping the garage afloat while dealing with an unplanned pregnancy weigh heavily on her, leaving her questioning her ability to face it all alone. Her thoughts are interrupted by Jake, her childhood friend and only assistant at the shop, as he asks, "Ella, have you seen the Phillips screwdriver?" His familiar voice offers her a brief reprieve from her thoughts, and she points to a toolbox beside the compressor, forcing a small smile as she tries to refocus on the day's tasks. As the sun sets, she closes the shop and heads back to her modest apartment. There, in the stillness of the night, Ella rests her hand on her growing belly and wonders aloud, "How am I supposed to do this on my own?" The overwhelming uncertainty claws at her, but the resolve deep in her heart refuses to let her give up. The following morning arrives, draped in heavy clouds, casting a gray haze over the city. Determined to face the day with strength, Ella heads to work earlier than usual, her old pickup truck rumbling along the winding road. Mist lingers in the air, and the narrow road winds between hills echo the turmoil within her. Suddenly, a flash in the rearview mirror catches her attention. A sleek, black car, speeding recklessly, veers around a corner and swerves dangerously close to her. Ella barely has time to move aside before the vehicle careens past, its wheels skidding wildly until it crashes into a guardrail with a loud screech of metal. Ella's heart pounds as she slams on the brakes and jumps out of her truck, rushing toward the smoking wreckage. "Sir, can you hear me?" she calls, her voice filled with urgency. A faint groan answers her, and with all the strength she can muster, she pries open the twisted door to reveal a man slumped over the wheel, blood trickling from a wound on his forehead. Acting purely on instinct, she unbuckles him and pulls him from the car just moments before flames burst from the engine. "Hang in there," she murmurs, checking his pulse, weak but steady. Trembling, she dials 911 on her phone, casting worried glances at the man's pale face. Though torn and stained with blood, his suit hints at wealth and sophistication, leaving her to wonder who this mysterious stranger might be and why he was driving so recklessly. As the ambulance arrives, a police officer takes her statement. "Mississippi, do you know this man?" he asks. Ella shakes her head, admitting, "No, I don't. I just knew he needed help." The officer thanks her, but even as she watches the ambulance pull away with its siren wailing, Ella feels an inexplicable connection to this man, as if fate has tethered their lives together. Driven by a gut feeling she can't ignore, she heads to the hospital, determined to learn more about him. At Central Memorial Hospital, Ella navigates the bustling corridors to the front desk, where she speaks with a receptionist. "Excuse me," she says, her voice steady but uncertain. "I'm looking for information on a man who was brought in from a car accident this morning on Highway 101. The receptionist taps at her computer before looking up sympathetically. "I'm sorry, Mississippi, but we can only release information to immediate family members. Ella hesitates, unsure what to say, but finally offers. I was the one who rescued him. The receptionist regards her with mild surprise, then nods. In that case, I can tell you he's currently in surgery. You're welcome to wait in the lounge. Finding a seat in the waiting area, Ella's mind races with thoughts of the mysterious man and the circumstances of his accident. Time passes slowly, her worry mingling with her troubles when suddenly raised voices pull her from her thoughts. An older man, dressed impeccably in a suit, argues with a nurse nearby. I demand to see my ward immediately, he declares, his voice sharp with authority. The nurse's calm reply seems to do little to soothe him. Mr. Callahan, please understand that Mr. Davidson is still in recovery. The name Davidson catches Ella's attention. Could this be the man she saved? The older man, noticing her gaze, strides over, his eyes narrowing as he asks, "Who are you, and what are you doing here?" Swallowing her apprehension, Ella responds, "I'm Ella Reid. I was the one who helped Mr. Davidson after the accident." William Callahan's stern expression softens slightly at this, though something in his demeanor remains calculating. "Ah, our heroine of the day," he says with a forced smile. "I'm William Callahan, legal guardian and manager of Nathan Davidson's estate. I'm grateful for your intervention, Miss Reid." Truly, despite his words, an iciness in his eyes makes Ella wary. When she asks about Nathan's condition, Callahan simply says, "He's stable, thanks to you." Tell me, did Nathan say anything before he lost consciousness? Mention why he was on that road? The question catches her off guard, and she replies truthfully, "No, he was unconscious when I arrived. I just did what I could to help." Before the conversation can go further, a doctor approaches. "Family of Nathan Davidson?" he asks, and Callahan steps forward quickly, stating his relation. "Nathan is stable and will recover," the doctor explains, but then adds gravely, "However, we discovered traces of a substance in his blood, suggesting he may have been drugged before the accident." Ella feels a chill run down her spine as if she stumbled into something far darker than she initially realized. Callahan's expression tightens at this news, but he quickly regains his composure, nodding curtly. As he follows the doctor, he glances back at Ella, instructing her to leave her contact details with the nurse. "I'm sure Nathan will want to thank you personally when he's well," he says, but his tone betrays a guardedness that unsettles her. Over the next 3 days, Ella balances her duties at the garage with frequent visits to the hospital, her concern for Nathan growing with each passing hour. She can't shake the feeling that their lives are now intertwined, and her unease in William Callahan's presence lingers in her mind. Finally, on her 4th visit, she managed to slip past the nursing staff and into Nathan's room. There, she finds him awake, his face bruised but his eyes sharp, filled with guarded gratitude as he meets her gaze. "You must be my guardian angel," he murmurs with a faint smile. Sitting beside him, Ella feels a wave of relief. "I'm glad to see you're better. I was starting to worry," she replies. After a pause, she adds hesitantly, "Do you remember anything about the accident? The doctor said they found substances in your blood." Nathan's face darkens, and he glances at the door, ensuring they are alone. Lowering his voice, he says, "Ella, my life isn't as simple as it might seem. That accident, it wasn't an accident at all." Her heart races as he explains in hushed tones that he's been investigating his uncle, William Callahan, believing that William may have been involved in his parents' tragic death 10 years ago. "I found documents," Nathan says, his voice heavy with conviction. "Documents that suggest the accident that killed them was planned. I suspect my uncle is behind it." Ella listens, her disbelief mingling with fear. This web of betrayal and secrets feels like it's drawing her deeper by the second. Yet, looking into Nathan's eyes, she cannot walk away. Driven by a deep empathy she barely understands, she reaches out, taking his hand. "You can trust me," she says quietly, her voice filled with resolve she hadn't known she possessed. Nathan's expression softens as he releases a sigh of relief. There's a flash drive hidden in my apartment, behind a painting in the living room. It has everything. Ella, I need you to retrieve it before William finds it. The weight of the task sinks in. But Ella nods. I'll do it, she promises. Even as she speaks, she knows this decision will alter the course of her life forever. Late that evening, Ella arrives at Nathan's upscale apartment building, her heart pounding with fear and anticipation. The city lights twinkle in the distance, casting eerie shadows in the dim hallways. She mentally replays Nathan's instructions. The flash drive is behind a painting in his living room, a place only he and his closest confidants would know to look. As she steps up to the front desk, the doorman, a graying man named Eddie, greets her with a nod. Good evening, Mississippi, may I help you? Clearing her throat, Ella replies, I'm here on behalf of Nathan Davidson. He asked me to pick up some important documents from his apartment. Eddie studies her momentarily, his eyes reflecting a hint of curiosity. But he nods. Mr. Davidson called ahead. Go right on up. Apartment 121. Relieved, Ella thanks him and heads to the elevator, her mind racing about the risk she's taking. The plush interior of the building contrasts sharply with the modest life she's used to, reminding her of the vast differences between their worlds. But something deeper compels her forward, a determination to uncover the truth and, perhaps, to protect Nathan from a threat that runs dangerously close. In Nathan's apartment, the silence feels thick, broken only by the faint hum of the city below. Moving swiftly, she locates the abstract painting he described and carefully shifts it aside, revealing a small safe embedded in the wall. With trembling hands, she enters the combination he'd given her, 07885, and hears a soft click as the safe opens. Inside, the flash drive lies nestled among several documents. She slips it into her pocket, but as she closes the safe, the sound of an essential turning in the front door freezes her. Panic seizes her as she darts toward the closet, slipping inside and leaving the door slightly ajar. Footsteps echo through the apartment. Two voices, one distinctly that of William Callahan, reach her ears, sending a chill down her spine. Search everywhere, Callahan orders, his tone sharp with irritation. That flash drive must be here somewhere. A second voice replies, Are you sure your nephew doesn't have it with him at the hospital? No, William growls, his frustration evident. We checked. Besides, he's been carefully monitored. No one except that mechanic woman has been in his room. At this, Ella's heart skips a beat, realizing that William suspects her involvement. She clutches the flash drive tightly, knowing it's now her key to justice and her most significant liability. The men begin to search, drawers slamming and furniture shifting as they tear through Nathan's apartment. Ella holds her breath, watching the shadows cast by their flashlights edge closer to the closet. When she thinks they might find her, William's voice cuts through the silence, cold and calculating. It's not here, he says finally. We'll find her and take back what belongs to me. If she interferes, we'll handle it. Ella waits until their footsteps fade, and she dares to breathe only when the apartment door closes. She emerges, trembling but resolute, and heads for the stairs instead of the elevator, aware that every moment counts. Reaching the ground floor, she peeks cautiously around the lobby and sees Eddie absent from his post momentarily. She slips into the night, her eyes darting left and right, only to spot William and another man emerging from the building's entrance. For a brief second, William's gaze meets hers through the rearview mirror of her truck as she hastily climbs in. His face contorts with rage, and he starts in her direction, but Ella hits the gas, her hands gripping the wheel as she speeds off, leaving them behind. With her heart pounding, she knows her life has changed irrevocably. The evidence she carries could bring down William Callahan, but also make her a marked target. As the city's lights blur around her, she decides she can't return to her apartment. It's the first place William would look. She recalls an old garage where her father used to work, abandoned but safe, and heads toward it with the flash drive clutched tightly in her hand. In the dead of night, Ella arrives at the old, rundown garage on the outskirts of town. The structure stands silent, shrouded in darkness. Its once busy corridors filled with dust and forgotten memories. She parks her truck out of sight behind the building, the familiar creak of the rusty door filling her ears as she steps inside. Despite its decay, this place feels strangely safe, a hidden sanctuary from the dangers now chasing her. Turning on her phone's flashlight, she illuminates the dusty interior, her gaze settling on a worn-out couch where her father once sat. She sinks into it, her exhaustion catching up with her, and pulls out the flash drive. Her father's old laptop, which she had the foresight to bring, flickers to life as she inserts the drive, waiting for the files to open. The screen fills with documents, financial transactions, encrypted emails, and, most chillingly, a grainy video file. With her heart racing, she clicks play, watching as an office setting materializes on the screen, with none other than William Callahan seated across from an unknown man. The audio crackles, but the words she can make out are unmistakable. The Davidsons' plane make it look like an accident. No one can know. A cold chill runs down her spine as she processes the meaning behind those words. Here, at last, is the irrefutable proof of William's treachery, evidence that could vindicate Nathan and finally expose the truth about his parents' deaths. But before she can continue, the distant sound of an engine approaching shatters her thoughts. Panicked, Ella quickly shuts down the laptop and peers through a dirty window, her breath catching when she sees the silhouette of a patrol car stopping on the road nearby. Two officers step out, shining their flashlights in her direction, and Ella's heart races with fear. She glances around, recalling that her father had once mentioned a hidden passage in the garage, a tunnel used during Prohibition days. Desperation fuels her as she moves an old metal shelf, revealing a narrow, shadowy opening. She slips inside, the suffocating dark and stale air pressing in on her. But she presses forward, knowing this might be her only escape. After what feels like an eternity in the cramped tunnel, Ella finally emerges into an old warehouse, the faint light of dawn casting a soft glow over the abandoned machinery scattered around her. Exhausted, she leans against a wall, allowing herself a moment of vulnerability as she takes in what lies ahead. The weight of Nathan's secret, her predicament, and the life growing within her overwhelm her situation. But she knows she cannot give up. Reaching for her phone, she dials the only person she can trust, Jake, her loyal assistant and lifelong friend. His groggy voice answers. Ella, do you have any idea what time it is? Jake, please. I'm in trouble, she replies, her voice shaking. I need your help. I can't explain everything now, but you must trust me. After a moment of silence, Jake's tone shifts, fully awake. What do you need? I need you to go to Central Memorial Hospital and ensure Nathan Davidson is safe. Tell him I have what he asked for and that I'm safe for now. Then, find a safe place where we can meet. Jake's voice holds a note of worry as he answers. Ella, this sounds serious. You're scaring me. But okay, I'll do it. Just be careful. Hanging up, Ella lets out a shaky breath, relieved but fearful of the unknown dangers ahead. The soft light of dawn bathes the warehouse in shades of pink and gold, a beautiful contrast to the darkness of her situation. Yet, it fills her with renewed determination. She's come too far to turn back now. With Jake's help, she can see this through. For Nathan, for the truth, and for the child's future growing within her. Driven by the strength she finds in these promises, she leaves the warehouse, heading toward the city's heart with a single, persistent goal: to bring William Callahan to justice. No matter the cost. Hours later, Jake confirms that Nathan is safe, having narrowly avoided an attempt by William's men to transfer him to a private clinic. Ella arranges a clandestine meeting with Nathan and her cousin, Lucas, a prosecutor known for his uncompromising integrity. They meet at a quiet cafe on the city's edge, far from William's watchful eyes. As they settle in, Nathan, pale but resolute, thanks Ella with a quiet but intense gratitude. You saved my life, he murmurs, his voice weighted with emotion. Ella places the flash drive on the table, glancing between Nathan and Lucas. What's on here is worse than we could have imagined. There's proof of fraud, conspiracy, and murder. William is involved in your parents' deaths. Nathan, it's all there. Lucas's expression turns grave as he listens. This isn't just family drama. Ella, with his reach, William won't hesitate to make this disappear. We must ensure this evidence reaches the right hands. People beyond his influence. Nathan looks troubled. William's influence stretches far. Police. Officials, we can't just go to anyone. If we expose him, it must be done with absolute precision. A moment of silence falls over them until Ella speaks up. I know someone, she says slowly. My cousin, Amelia, works in the anti-corruption office. She's turned down promotions to keep her integrity intact. If there's anyone we can trust with this, it's her. As they finalize their plan, Ella's phone vibrates with a message from an unknown number. I know what you have. Meet me in Central Park in 1 hour, or your friends will pay the price. W.C. Her heart sinks as she shows the message to Nathan and Lucas. He's found us. Nathan reaches for her hand, determination shining in his eyes. You're not going alone. Ella, we'll end this together. As evening falls, Ella arrives at Central Park, sitting alone on a weathered bench. Though she knows Jake, Lucas, and Nathan are nearby, hidden and poised to act. The park is quiet, shadows cast by street lamps flickering as night takes hold. William Callahan emerges from the darkness, his expression one of cool calculation, the hint of a smile playing on his lips as he addresses her. Miss Reid, how reasonable of you to comply. Ella rises, meeting his gaze with a strength she hadn't known she possessed. It's over. William, I have everything, proof of your crimes. Your involvement in Nathan's parents' deaths. It's all here. William lets out a low, humorless laugh. You think that matters? I could erase you and that evidence without a trace. His voice drops, cold and sinister. You're playing a dangerous game. Ella, unafraid. Ella pulls out her phone and presses play on a recording. William's voice fills the night air, confessing to the crime she's just accused him of, a recording she made at the hospital confrontation. A careful trap she'd set, knowing he might underestimate her. Fury flashes across William's face as he lunges forward, demanding, give me that phone. But in an instant, Jake, Nathan, Lucas, Amelia, and several officers emerge from the shadows surrounding William. Lucas steps forward, flashing his badge as he reads William his rights, declaring, William Callahan, you are under arrest for the murders of Emily and Robert Davidson, as well as charges of fraud and conspiracy. Defeated, William's gaze shifts to Ella, a twisted mixture of rage and respect glinting in his eyes. I underestimated you. Miss Reid, I never thought a simple mechanic would be my downfall. As he's led away in handcuffs, Nathan approaches Ella, his eyes filled with gratitude and a quiet intensity. Thank you, he whispers, thick with emotion, for everything. Jake joins them, pulling them both into a fierce hug, the three bound by a moment of triumph over adversity. But for Ella, this victory is just the beginning of a new journey. 6 months later, the trial of William Callahan has concluded, resulting in a conviction that ensures he will spend the rest of his life behind bars. The truth about Nathan's parents' deaths has finally come to light, bringing long-awaited justice and closure to their family's tragic history. Ella's life has transformed. Dream Wheels Garage has evolved into a thriving business restoring classic cars with Nathan's support and the funds recovered from William's embezzlement. The garage is now bustling with activity, and Jake supervises a team of young apprentices, fulfilling Ella's dream of creating opportunities for others who, like her, have faced hardship. As she works on a '65 Mustang one afternoon, a strong kick from her belly interrupts her thoughts. She smiles, placing her hand over the growing life within her. Take it easy, little one, she murmurs, feeling a profound sense of contentment she once thought unattainable. Nathan's voice pulls her from her thoughts, and she turns to see him approaching. his face alight with happiness. "I think he has your restless spirit," she jokes, accepting his warm embrace. Nathan kneels, touching her belly and speaking softly to their unborn child. "Hey, champ, give your mom a break, okay? You'll have plenty of time to run around soon." The baby gives a gentle nudge, almost as if in response, and they share a look filled with wonder and love. "By the way, the foundation is set to launch," Nathan says excitedly. "We're going to be able to help so many children who've lost their parents. Give them the chances I didn't have." Ella beams with pride. "Your parents would be so proud," she whispers, hugging him tightly, with her hand in his. They savor the moment of peace, knowing it's been a hard one. As evening falls, Nathan and Ella walk hand in hand through the same park where their lives had nearly unraveled. The memories linger in the air, bittersweet reminders of all they've overcome. Stopping beside the central fountain, Nathan turns to face her, his eyes filled with an emotion that leaves her breathless. "Ella Reid," he begins, his voice trembling slightly. "You came into my life when I needed hope and thought all was lost. You saved me, not just from my past, but from a life without love, without purpose. You gave me a family, a reason to be a better man." Slowly, he kneels, producing a small box from his pocket. "Will you give me the honor of being by your side, of building a life together, forever?" As tears slip down Ella's cheeks, the world seems to be still, and she nods, finally managing to choke. "Yes, 1,000 times. Yes." Nathan slips the delicate white gold ring onto her finger, symbolizing their journey and future. As he stands, their lips meet in a kiss that speaks of promises made and love found, while the baby within her gives a slight, gentle kick as if sharing in their joy. Hand in hand, they walk back to the cafe where Jake and Lucas are waiting to celebrate with them. Each friend part of the family they've created together. As they sit around the table, sharing laughter and dreams, Ella feels a peace she's never known, a quiet certainty that whatever challenges lie ahead, they will face them as one. 6 months later, as the garage flourishes and the foundation grows, they welcome a baby boy, and their family is complete. Under a warm, sunlit sky, Ella stands in her arms with Nathan, their son, and feels the immense, steady joy that has replaced all her past fears. She realizes life has brought her full circle, restoring her father's legacy and her happiness. She has mended broken lives, brought justice to light, and found in the unlikeliest of places the family she had longed for. Together, they look forward, bound by love, laughter, and a future that promises new adventures, all founded on the simple, unwavering power of trust and love.